New York Senator and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is facing an election challenge this year from Republican Joe Pinion.
We need a new generation of leadership in this country.
Pinion, a political commentator, is making his first run for office. He was among the Republicans who attended a rally in Saranac Lake this past weekend, and while there, he spent a few minutes with us talking about why he's running for the U.S. Senate.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for the U.S. Senate.
Well, look, just a boy from Yonkers, New York, born and raised, has the opportunity to be recruited to play football at Colgate University. Went there and then went back to New York City. Began working in nonprofit healthcare for a long time until I transitioned over to political journalism, covering local and national politics on networks from CBS News to Fox News, which eventually led to me having my own show on Newsmax. And I run for a very serious reason. New York is in trouble. We lead the nation in outward migration. 1 million of our friends and neighbors have fled. Chuck Schumer now has the distinction of presiding over the greatest exodus by any senator in the modern history of this state. And so we have to hold a mirror up to our own lives and ask ourselves the question, do we feel better off today than we were when Charles Ellis Schumer went down to D.C. on our behalf? From my perspective, we are not. And so we're committed to telling the untold story of New York State, a New York State where 60% of our children are not reading at grade level in our public schools, a New York State where Syracuse, New York now has a highest level of poverty for children per any major city in the country per capita, a New York State where we now have Rochester, New York, that has more murder per capita than Chicago, Illinois. And lost in all of that are all the rural swaths of this state, places like North Country in particular, that have been left behind because the opportunity that was promised no longer lives here. So we are fighting for those family farmers that have been left out of Chuck Schumer's agenda. We are fighting for those individuals who feel as if the economy is not working for them, those seniors living on a fixed income who have watched the inflation outpace the increase they received from the government, the largest increase in close to a generation. Those are our priorities. That is why I quit my job to get in this race, because we quite simply cannot afford 6 more years of Charles Ellis Schumer down in D.C.
What are you hearing from voters for them? What's their number one priority? Inflation, the economy, the price of gas? What are voters telling you?
Voters feel as if the leadership has gone deaf and blind when it comes to the pain and suffering they are experiencing. That is seen in the inflation that is crippling families, preventing people from keeping the house they chose to make a home. But we also see it on the southern border, where fentanyl now is a leading cause of death for everyone aged 18 to 45 in this nation. That is not a talking point. That is real pain and real suffering for real people. And North Country and Central New York, they experience it the most. We now have a tsunami of fentanyl killing people all across this country indiscriminately, and we have done nothing about it. Chuck Schumer has said practically nothing about it. And so we need to make sure we have leadership that takes these issues seriously. The mayor of New York City just declared a state of emergency for a migrant crisis. Our senator just spent 2 years saying didn't exist. So which is it? So I think for me, we're giving people a clear choice. And our thesis has been clear. If you are unhappy with the world as it is today, you cannot continue to vote for the architects who built it. Chuck Schumer is the greatest architect in modern politics today. 42 years he has been in Washington, D.C., 24 in the United States Senate. If 6 more years of Chuck Schumer working on our problems was a solution, we wouldn't have any problems to begin with. So he is running ads, millions of dollars worth, saying the job's not done. If you can't finish a job in 24 years, you probably need to step aside and allow somebody else to take a crack at it.